Need some new Modern Horizons cards? Well, you can pre-order them from our sponsor Card Kingdom by heading over to cardkingdom.com. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and today we're going to talk about why the original Modern Horizons is one of the best sets in the history of Magic, and specifically look at the top 10 decks that Modern Horizons added to the Modern format. These are decks that arguably would not exist if it wasn't for Modern Horizons, and these are decks that are really sweet, really fun, not the broken decks. We're not talking about, like Ren and 6 makes Jund really good or things like that. We're talking about really sweet decks. When I think of Modern and what I want out of Modern and why I enjoy Modern so much, what makes Modern great is there's a ton of playable decks. Sure, there's top tier decks, but then there's like 100 tier 2, tier 3 decks that you can take to a tournament, take to an FNM, actually compete with, and Modern Horizons, sure, it added some broken things to the format, but it also added a ton of those sweet lower tier decks that I'm really happy exist in Modern. So right now we're looking at the bad of Modern Horizons. Hogaak obviously destroyed the format for a couple of months. Maybe the all-time worst period of Modern. Maybe Eldrazi Winter beats it out, but Hogaak Summer was really, really bad until it got bad. There was also Astrolabes and Urzas, and Ren and 6 got banned in Legacy. So I don't want to minimize the broken cards from Modern Horizons that did legitimately cause a lot of problems in the format. At the same time, I don't think that is a Modern Horizons problem as much as a Wizards design in 2019-2020 problem. Remember, Modern Horizons came out in the middle of 2019, summer 2019, and if you look at the sets around it, War the Spark had the Staxy static ability Planeswalkers to Fairy, banned in Standard, Narset, Karn, it's got Mycosynth Lattice banned in Modern, even the Core set had Field of the Dead, it had Veil of Summer, Throne of Eldraine, one of the most broken sets in Magic's history, Oko, Once Upon a Time, Adventure, we had Uro and Theros Beyond Death, we had Companions in Ikoria, so I actually think it's pretty unfair to single out Modern Horizons and be like, it had a few cards that were too push. Every set that Wizards designed in this time period had the exact same problem. Like, many of these sets were good sets and fun sets, but they had some number of cards at the top end of the curve that were just pushed too far and broke things. So I think it's actually unfair to focus too much on the broken cards of Modern Horizons, just because you can apply that same criticism to every single set printed for like an 18-month window around Modern Horizons. But that's not our topic for today. I wanted to make sure we pointed out the broken cards because there was a legitimate negative impact. But now, looking back at Modern Horizons with almost 2 years of context, I think this set was amazing. So let's look at the 10 sweetest decks that probably wouldn't even exist in Modern if it wasn't for Modern Horizons cards. So, as I mentioned before, this isn't going to be a list of the best decks that feature Modern Horizons cards. It's not going to be, like Stoneblade plays Icefang Quaddle, or Jund plays Red and 6, or this random control deck plays Forced Negation. That idea isn't to be like, here's the 10 most top tier decks that feature Modern Horizon cards. These are my 10 favorite decks that wouldn't exist in Modern without Modern Horizons. So coming in at number 10 on our list, we have kind of a 2-for-1 here. Gruul midrange, and also like White-Red or Boros land destruction. These are decks that depend on Season Pyromancer for card filtering, for churning through your deck, for refilling your hand, and very much lean on Pillage as one of their big land destruction spells with upside. If it wasn't for these cards coming in Modern Horizons, I don't think that Gruul midrange would be able to compete in the format. I don't think we'd even have like White-Red land destruction to be a tier 3 option that occasionally pops up and does sweet things. So brings those decks in at number 10 on our list. Moving on to number 9, we have Green-White Cats. Cats is a deck that is obviously like tier 3.5, but it has had finishes where it actually is like 5-0 leagues and stuff, and the reason the deck can compete is the double lord in the 3-drop slot, King of the Pride, giving all your other tribe members +2/+1 is huge. That is a very powerful lord, and that allows the cat deck to take advantage of all of its go wide token synergies, Pride of Sovereign, Regal Caracal, Brimaz, to build a huge lethal board of cats with King of the Pride really, really quickly, which brings Green-White Cats in at number 9 on our list. Moving on to number 8 on our list, we have Zombies, another deck that just wasn't a thing before Modern Horizons, but thanks to Carrion Feeder, the sack outlet that grows and combos with Gravecrawler, and Undead Augur, an insane source of card advantage, especially in a deck that can keep sacking its stuff with something like Carrion Feeder, Zombies has become a real, semi-competitive option in the format, bringing it in at number 8 on our list. Moving on to number 7 on our list. In this one, admittedly is a bit of a stretch. Would Electrobalance, or like the As Foretold free spell deck, exist without Modern Horizons? The answer might be yes. Like, people had messed around with it before. It had never really been good, but Modern Horizons brought with it another free spell in Crashing Footfalls, which actually gave the deck a way to close out the game. If you look at old versions of this deck, it was trying to, like, get people with Restore Balance and hope that they scooped. It didn't have a really legitimate fast way to just win the game. Crashing Footfalls added this huge clock where you just dump 2 4/4 trampling bodies on the battlefield, which is a really big deal for the deck. So even though the idea of using As Foretold Electro Dominance to cast free spells in Modern might exist without Crashing Footfalls, it really is Crashing Footfalls that keeps the deck relevant, I think, and able to compete with all the powerful new cards we get. Bringing it in at number 7 on our list. Moving on to number 6 on our list. Oh, we have one of my favorites. 5-color elementals. Just a sweet pile of synergies and creatures. This is a deck that if it wasn't for Lightning Skelemental, it wouldn't be a thing. The most powerful thing the deck can do is Lightning Skelemental you, and then like reanimate your Lightning Skelemental with something like Thunderkin Awakener and do it again and do it again and clean out your hand. Vesperlark, another Modern Horizons edition that keeps the deck going. So Lightning Skelemental and Elementals from Modern Horizons comes in at number 6 on our list. Moving into our top 5, we have Goblins. And I know this one might be a little bit controversial because really Goblins took off after Conspicuous Snoop showed up in Core Set 2021. However, if it wasn't for Modern Horizons, I don't think the Snoop combo would really be a thing. If you look at what Modern Horizons added to Goblins, it added Goblin Matron, a way to find your combo pieces. It added Slinging Lieutenant, the main finisher for the combo. It added Munitions Expert, a tutorable removal spell to keep you alive until you get your combo set up, and it added Mons as like a backup combo plan. So I feel like even though Snoop is the big reason Goblins can be a competitive deck, if it wasn't for all the MH1 editions, I don't think that just Snoop would be enough, which makes Goblins a Modern Horizons deck in my book and brings it in at number 5 on our list. Moving on to number 4 on our list, we have another one that might be a little bit controversial, and that is Slivers. So Slivers, it has a dedicated fan base where there's going to be people who play Slivers just because they love Slivers, whether Slivers is actually all that good or not. But I would argue that it is Modern Horizon Slivers that actually give the deck a chance to win games and be somewhat real in Modern. If you look at what was added to Slivers because of Modern Horizons, the biggest is probably Cloud Treader Sliver, one of the best aggro Slivers ever, giving all your Slivers flying and haste, allows for like some combo-y turns with the mana Slivers, allows you to just kill your opponent out of nowhere when you play a bunch of Lords. It is a huge deal for Slivers. Also, Unsettled Mariner gives the deck protection, Dredge Cape Sliver, another form of protection. So not only did Modern Horizons add this explosiveness to Slivers that it was kind of lacking before, thanks to Cloud Treader, it also added a bunch of resilience. So even though I'm sure people would still jank around with Slivers, even if Modern Horizons wasn't a thing, just because some people really love the tribe, I think that the reason the tribe can compete is because of the Modern Horizons edition, which brings it in at number 4 on our list. Moving on to number 3 on our list, we have one of my personal favorites from Modern Horizons. That is the blue-black Ninja archetype. So Ninja of the Deep Hours, it's a powerful card, but you can't really build your deck around one of those effects, but it's really hard to build your deck around it because there wasn't a backup. Thanks to Modern Horizons, though, we got Ingenious Infiltrator. So now we have 2 versions of Ninja of the Deep Hours, making the plan of playing like a Changeling Outcast, another new Modern Horizons edition, and then ninjutsuing it back to your hand to start drawing cards and snowballing on turn 2. Much more consistent. We've also seen some builds play Miss Syndicate Naga as another ninja that can kind of take over the game if you can ninjutsu it and keep hitting your opponent and snowball that way. So ninjas, it just wouldn't be a thing without Modern Horizons, and it's a really sweet, really unique play pattern, and it draws a ton of cards, which brings it in at number 3 on our list. Moving on to number 2 on our list, we have one of the most maybe impactful decks to come out of Modern Horizons. This deck has been, I would say, tier 1.5 at various times, and it's still a very playable deck that is always floating around somewhere in the meta, and that is Black-Green Undying / Yawgmoth's Hospital. This is a deck that is purely driven by the power of Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth is the card that makes this deck work. It allows for the combo with Strangleroot Geist and Geralf's Messenger, because you can not only sacrifice stuff, but adding the counter negates the +1/+1 counter from a die and lets you go infinite. So if Yawgmoth wasn't a thing, this deck wouldn't be a thing. And the deck is really sweet, it's really fun, it's competitive-ish, and it attacks in a really unique way, which brings Yawgmoth's Hospital in at number 2 on our Modern Horizons list. Coming in at number 1 on our list, you probably knew it was coming, that is Soul Herder, one of my favorite cards for Modern Horizons. And we've seen a bunch of different Soul Herder versions. There's been 5-color versions, 3-color versions. This is the most recent that I've seen playing this Saheeli Copycat combo, but really, they're all blink value decks that are taking advantage of Soul Herder to grow into a huge creature and repeatedly blink creatures with enter the battlefield triggers, and Ephemerate, a card kind of just overlooked, but is proven to be really, really powerful, blinking something twice with rebound for 1 mana, and Soul Herder is just an absolute blast to play. It is so much fun, it's just so value-y, good, clean, fair Magic, and that brings it in at number 1 on our Modern Horizons list. So, as you can see, Modern Horizons added a lot of sweet cards to the format. Like, if it wasn't for Modern Horizons, I would say most of these decks wouldn't exist. Some of them would exist, but probably wouldn't be very good. So yes, there were Hogaaks. Yes, there's Ren and 6s. Yes, sometimes it's frustrating to get blown out by Force and Negation. Astrolabe made mana too easy, so there were problems. But when you really look at this, Modern Horizons added a ton of not problematic and really sweet decks to the Modern format, which, to me, I think that's a win. I'm willing to put up with a Hogaak if it means I'm going to get Soul Herders, and Ninjas, and Slivers, and Zombies, and Goblins, and all these amazingly sweet decks. I mean, obviously, given my choice, we would have the amazingly sweet decks and not have broken things like Hogaak. But even if that's the price we gotta pay, broken Modern for a couple months to get all these sweet cards and all these sweet new decks, that's a price I'm willing to pay. So I'm super hyped for Modern Horizons 2. Hopefully it has a similar impact as Modern Horizons 1, adding a ton of sweet new cards and sweet new decks to the format, but without the few broken cards at the top end of the curve. So we will see as spoilers kick back off later this week. So that's been my 10 favorite Modern decks that wouldn't exist without Modern Horizons. What do you think? Which is your favorite? What other decks exist because of Modern Horizons? What's your favorite Modern Horizons card? Are you looking forward to Modern Horizons 2? Or are you dreading it because of the potential brokenness? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. And oh yeah, I also wrote an article on this topic, which is linked in the description. So if you want a text version with a little bit more information, also the deck lists in downloadable form, if you want to try them for yourself, make sure to check that out. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.